A great day. Welcome to One Hub Racing for some more Season 15 Podium tier action. This is round 2 of the championship coming from the Paul Ricard circuit. It is the French Grand Prix. Luke here, and alongside me tonight, a familiar face to people who may have watched Podium tier over the years. It is Liam. Liam, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Luke, how are you doing tonight?
I'm very good, thanks. I'm hoping that we get some great action like we did last week. For those of you who weren't with us last week, there was one man who was miles ahead of the rest, something you very rarely see in One Hub, to be honest, and that was Ivahanen. He put in a fantastic performance in qualifying, nearly half a second ahead of the field, and never really looked back being headed during the race. But another driver who had a fantastic performance was Nicky on their One Hub debut. They got second place and driver of the day, and it was Astronauty who rounded out the podium in the Mercedes. So it was a great race for the Mercedes drivers, and perhaps not too unsurprising to see Ivahanen looking good given his experience.
Yeah, I remember to last season, Ivahanen was pretty quick and he was up there fighting for the wins every week. So I think what he's done over the break is just pushed himself even further, and now he's just shown how much he's improved.
Yeah, he's always seemed to be up near the front of the field last season, and again now seems to be dominant. And for anyone who watched Podium tier last year, you'll realise that if you're a Finn in a Mercedes, you've got a pretty good chance of winning the championship. So a bit more about the circuit that we'll be going tonight. The Paul Ricard circuit came back to F1 in 2018, so it hasn't really been used much in One Hub. Got used in Season 12 and Season 14, and there has never been a repeat winner of a race here. There have been 7 races across all the tiers, and there's been 7 different winners. And in Podium last year, it was Nexus Iceman, perhaps unsurprisingly, who took the victory. I think this was around the stage where he started becoming truly dominant and cementing his championship hopes. It was SD Mats who finished second, and Riley Buys, who is racing tonight in the Alfa Romeo, in third. So we've seen that Riley's got pace. He must be feeling pretty confident tonight, given his previous form around here.
Yeah, I think Riley can take his result here from last season and then just use that as something to build off of, as well as other drivers. I'm not sure. Ivahanen, I'm not can't quite remember how he finished around here, but like you said, being a Finn in the Mercedes, I think he's got a pretty good chance of taking the victory again.
Yeah, given the form he was in last week, like I said, nearly half a second in qualifying, it'll be a brave man or woman who will bet against him. A few stewards' inquiries that were done at the end of last week. There were 6 for Podium tier. I'll just go through the ones that ended up in penalties. There was an incident with Schumacher early on where he braked extremely late. He is still getting used to not using the braking assist, and that led to a qualifying ban for the Ferrari driver tonight, so it's going to be a struggle for him. Chris and Rich also involved in an incident which led to Chris being given a 5-second penalty that would have cost him a place in the points if it wasn't for the fact that Lee Hoffner did what so many people do at One Hub and so many people have been warned about doing. They readied up too early, also getting themselves a 5-second penalty. And all the drivers have been warned about that once again. And given the inconsistent nature of this circuit with track limits, they've also been warned about cutting too many corners. They have said that turn 1, turn 2, so the first chicane, turn 7 as you're heading onto the main DRS straight, they're the areas where we'll be keeping an eye on track limits the most. And I do believe I remember on F1 2018, in one of the other leagues I commentated on, a driver getting disqualified here for getting too many penalties. So could be another race where we see a driver who gets a low number of penalties coming out on top.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on that. France is pretty extreme when it comes to track limits, but I do remember on F1 2018 that there was the hairpin at the end of near the end of the first sector going on to the back straight. You're able to go wide off of the track and use that to get a good run onto the straight. So I wouldn't be surprised if people are paying attention there as well, because that's quite a popular track extending spot.
Yeah, they have been warned, however, that if they get caught doing it, either by us on stream or the other drivers, and that gets taken to the stewards, they could find themselves getting a penalty. So could be a bit of sneaky driving and trying to avoid the cameramen today. Now, talking of Paul Ricard circuit, over 100 different layouts. I think 167 different configurations, and I think this is the third different one that they have used for Formula 1. When it was originally used back in the early 80s, it had the full Mistral straight, where you have the chicane now, splitting it up after the first DRS zone. That was cut short in 1986 after the tragic accident of Elio De Angelis to a much shorter layout where the track time in modern Formula 1 cars would probably be less than a minute. They've now gone to this longer layout, and a few of the drivers have said they would like to see some differing layout used. And I know for myself, Liam, before I've done a bit of a test once with my parents where I drove around this track, went down the Mistral straight and told them to tell me when to brake, and I think it took them about 5 or 6 times before they got it right. It is definitely a confusing layout.
Yeah, France is definitely one of those really confusing tracks. It's quite a difficult track as well, so I'm not surprised there are people calling for changes to the layout, because certain sections are quite off-putting, like the first sector. Certain parts of the first sector are like really tricky and quite technical, and you come to a really open and fast like middle and third sector, and then it all tightens up at the end. So it's got quite a variation, and I can see why people... It isn't people's favourite track, but it's definitely a challenge for the drivers.
Yeah, to be honest, it is a track that I enjoy driving around. It doesn't, in real life, produce the best racing, but we have seen some great races around here at One Hub, and I think it is what you said, Liam. It's a variety of different corners. That first sector is very slow and technical. You're relying a lot on the mechanical grip. You've got the long straight, which pretty much makes up the entire of Sector 2, barring the chicane. And that third sector, lots of long corners. So if your tyres are overheating, particularly in qualifying, if you've gone on the soft tyres and you've heated them up a bit, you could see a few cars power sliding around that final sector, and that will cost them valuable seconds.
Yeah, definitely. I'm pretty sure it was... I've had it happen to me before when I was going through the long right-hander at the end of the second sector, going into at the start of the third sector. It was... My tyres were off a bit, and if you go through that corner just a little bit too fast to take the curb, automatically your car's basically guaranteed to spin out almost. So you've got to be careful on your tyres there in France, especially with all these high-speed corners, which are really going to take the toll on the tyres.
Yeah, turn 10 it is. You can just see it on the screen there at the end of the straight. You can see the 3 different types of tyres used. It is the middle of the 5 at the Pirelli range. 15 corners, 3.630 miles. Strategy-wise tonight, we are expecting, given the fact that compulsory 2 stops, most of the drivers to qualify on the soft tyres. It's just whether they can get 2 stints out of the soft tyres or they have to use the mediums for 2 stints. That will be the big question. We saw a lot of variation last time out, and we saw Aaron doing what he usually does in qualifying, which is going for the medium tyres, which means he usually goes longer in the first stint and is fast at the end of the race. Couldn't quite get on the podium last time out, so we'll see whether he goes for the same tactic tonight. But interestingly, Ivahanen has said he's aiming to qualify on the medium tyres and get into the top 5, which personally I think is a bit of a risk.
In my opinion, I think especially around France where the tyre wear is quite bad, you want to start on the harder tyres that lets you go further into the race, so when you switch onto your softer tyres, the wear isn't so bad and you can go longer on them, which would definitely help certain people. But I also imagine some people prefer the soft tyres to the mediums. So it's just a matter of personal preference, really.
Yeah, well, all the drivers are starting to ready up now, so hopefully it won't be long before we get the track action underway. The first of 3 tiers tonight, 7:30, will be the precision tier with Owen and Austin commentating. Then at 8:30 it is the pinnacle tier with Alex Lilliard commentating, and Alex making his One Hub debut tonight in the Racing Point. Unfortunately, it looks like Jess has been having connection issues. She was one of the ones who said she'd like to see a track layout change around here to perhaps promote a bit more overtaking, but we've still got 18 drivers and hopefully some fantastic action. Are you expecting either Hannon to make it 2 poles in a row, or do you think someone else will show their hand today?
I'm gonna put my money on someone who was one of the favourites in season 14. I'm gonna back Aaron this week. I'm not sure if he'll get pole, but I think he's in contention for the race win on his reverse strategy.
Yeah, if he makes that reverse strategy work, which is possible around here, and safety cars as well. Don't be surprised to see a few incidents into that first corner. Genuinely, for a safety car to happen, you do need a crash between 2 cars around here, as you're seeing from the aerial footage, and I'm sure everyone who's watching is aware. Hitting a wall is actually pretty much a challenge around here, seeing as you always seem to have a good half a mile between yourself and the nearest barrier. So anyway, as we wait for qualifying to get underway, 18 minutes of qualifying, and that will be followed by a half distance race, and it is beautiful sunshine, which I'm sure is a joy to see for all of the drivers. Are you missing racing at One Hub, Liam?
Yeah, it's definitely a bit strange being in the commentary box for Podium tier, but I'm enjoying it. It gives you a new perspective on the racing. That I definitely think if I get back into racing at One Hub, what I learn from the commentary box will definitely help me with my racing.
Yeah, and we said the alternative strategy. Aaron's going out for that now. He's suggesting that he'll be starting on the mediums, as is TC13, and we might see some very interesting strategies, because we've just been informed by our resident Red Bull weatherman, Gazerman, that rain is predicted at the end of the race. That could spice things up, given that even if it does rain, you still have to do the compulsory 2 stops, of course. So few drivers may take a risk, only do 1 stop during the race, and then change late on onto intermediate tyres if it is needed. Aaron, he's now heading out of the pits on those medium tyres. Sort of times we're expecting for pole position. Last season it was Kingan who was the fastest in qualifying with a 1:31.2. However, that was also matched by some of the drivers on the medium tyres, so those on the softs expect to see in the mid 130s, given the improvements that you get on gains. But Kingan's here tonight, and he's the only Williams driver across all the tiers to score points so far, so he'll be hoping for another good performance this evening.
Yeah, like you said, King pole last season, so I think he might be one of the ones to watch again this season to grab pole again, for especially around tiers, because he seems to have a good understanding of the track and just be able to guide the car around the track almost perfectly.
Yeah, it's all about being nice and smooth, as you said, Liam. A lot of tyre wear around here. You've got to keep the soft tyres especially under temperature, given the speeds you will be travelling, especially in this final sector. We'll follow Kingan round for when he starts his outlap. 8th place last time around this track last season, giving him his only pole position in One Hub. Also in the Williams, seems to be a fan of driving for the Grove team. We have got a few other drivers out on the medium tyres following Aaron's lead. That is Alex Lilliart, we mentioned TC13 as well, but as Kingan lights up the rears, DRS open to begin his hot lap, heading over to the right hand side of the track. The pit lane here does exit quite strictly out onto the track, down towards turn 1 and 2. A fairly fast chicane. He's keeping well safe of the track limits at this point in time. Now heading down towards turn 3, then the slow twisty section of the track through 4 and 5, keeping it nice and steady, nice and smooth on the throttle, and that's what you need to do. Running wide through 6, straight line in 7 as much as you can, and he has kept it clean so far. DRS is enabled now on the Williams. 1 or 2 DRS points on this track. Heading now down to the Mistral chicane. You've got to use the marker boards to point your braking zone out. There are so many different strips of tarmac running around the circuit there. It's almost like New York and Manhattan. Heading down now towards Signa's turn 10. This is where, if you've tyres are wearing, you are going to start feeling it nice and flat at this point in qualifying, then reaching turn 11 at nearly 200 miles an hour. That's around 320 kilometres an hour. Now this part of the circuit is all about being as smooth as possible. He's just ran a bit wide coming through turn 12 now, heading down through 13, then turn 14 where you'll see the pit entry there on the right hand side, having moved from its previous slot. Nice and tight through 15, planting the foot on the throttle again. This time Kingan sets a 1:31.567, just behind Lee Hoffner, but Jonas Ulbricht with a 1:30.7 in McLaren. That's a bit more what we'd be expecting for pole position. Aaron on the mediums, 1:31.9.
Yeah, Jonas showing off his pace again. I remember Jonas has always been what was not in the podium tier last season and moved up a couple of tiers, but now that he's back in the podium tier, I think we can expect some good showings from Jonas again, because he's a quick driver and he just hasn't had the best luck the past couple of seasons. But I think being back in the podium tier is definitely going to be a step in the right direction for Jonas.
Yeah, very good result for him last time out. 4th place, giving him 12 points at the moment. On board now with Catboy Key in the Haas. Haas, the only team not to score any points in the Constructors' Championship in the podium tier so far. Red Bull and Mercedes managed to get both drivers in the points, and Racing Point, thanks to Jess's fastest lap, got themselves 1 point. So it's Haas at the bottom of the championship, and Catboy Key there going very deep into the chicane, and traffic could be a bit of an issue at some points on this circuit because a lot of drivers will be wanting to get the slipstream. And as I say that, the Haas is giving, I believe that might be Gazerman, a lovely slipstream, but that's surely just going to hold Gazerman up through this final sector.
Yeah, definitely. The dirt air is going to put you off quite a bit, especially in the more technical sections like the first sector and the last part of the sector with all those technical medium and high speed corners are it's really going to put you off. But Eva Hannon's on his lap here, so we'll keep an eye on him and see coming through the final sector now into the second to last corner. I believe it's turn 14, and then into the final corner now, stamping on the gas as he's coming out, opens the DRF up to the line. It's going to be a 1:30 dead.
Fantastic time from Everhand. He said he might try to qualify on the medium tyres, but I think he's seen most of the field go for the softs. And again, 3/10 clear of his teammate Astronauty, who was himself 3.5 tenths clear of Jonas Ulbricht. Art imitating live here. 1-2 for the Mercedes, and quite a dominant performance by the Mercedes team so far. Gazerman ended up finishing in 4th place, but he definitely will have been held up by his team, by the Haas, of Catboy Key. 11 minutes gone. It's Eva Hannon, Astronauty, Jonas Ulbricht, Gazerman and Rich, the top 5 at the moment. Dexter in 6th place in the Alfa Romeo. He was the driver who got called up to the driver's press conference. If you're not aware of what happens, all of the drivers, every now and then they'll get dragged into the driver's press conference, basically get abused by Nick, and there's not much they can do about it. But they were giving Nick as good as they were giving him it back yesterday. Brett in Precision here had a nice little pointer to give Nick, which I can't really repeat on stream. But Dexter's admitted himself that he needs to step up on all leagues, but did mention that in another league he has beaten Nick in the past. So he's also aware that he needs to do better, and said last time he was unimpressed by his own qualifying session. So he'll be pretty happy to be in 6th place at the moment.
Yeah, I imagine he will be pleased with 6th, but I'm sure that he's going to be trying. I'm sure that he'll probably go out there and possibly get. I think he'll get top 5, maybe even top 4. So I think he's definitely got the pace to do it. It's just a matter of getting it right at that point in time, just being in the moment and hooking that lap up perfectly.
Yeah, so Chris didn't hook up the lap perfectly. He got quite a drift on in the Red Bull. Still goes up to 7th place though, so He'll be very happy with that because he must have lost at least half a second through that final sector. Well held though by the Red Bull driver. He is one of our race premium drivers. If you're not aware of what race premium is, you pay £10, guaranteed a seat in the league, and you get yourself a few extra perks. You can check out the One Hub Racing website to find out more information about that. 13 drivers set a time at the moment. It says Schumacher is out on his outlap, which is interesting because I'm fairly sure he had a qualifying ban from last time out. So whether he's just going out to set a setup, we'll have to see. Riley Bizo, he's starting his flying lap now. Let's see what the Alfa Romeo driver can do. Got a podium here last season. One of 4 podiums the Alfa Romeo driver got. Can he show that pace? Although he was very wide there coming through turn 2.
Yeah, the Alfa Romeo man might have something to prove here, although knowing Riley, he's quite a calm and collected driver, getting a bit wide there. Oh, he's gone very wide through there, through turn 6 into turn 7. That might have cost him a couple of tenths there onto the back straight. That's not the ideal run you're wanting, especially down this massive back straight. Into the chicane now, coming in of 8 and 9, coming out, going wide on exit again. It's not been the best of laps from the Alfa Romeo driver, and here comes into the challenging turn 10, which will punish you if you're not careful with your tyres. Into turn 11, braking and going very wide. I imagine he's going to back off of his lap now. Yeah, he's invalidated. So not the best attempt at a flying lap from the Alfa Romeo driver, but I'm sure he will definitely get that lap that he's looking for in the next 7 minutes.
Yeah, I think he invalidated it coming through the Mistral chicane, so it was just letting Truth NRP out of the way in the McLaren. He's 11th place at the moment as he comes out of the final sector. Improves his time slightly, but it's not enough to improve his position. He stays into 11th. Interestingly now, TC13, Alex and Aaron are all showing as being on the soft tyres. So let's see what Aaron can do now in the Ferrari. Could have won the championship last season if he didn't have to resign from the series for issues outside of his control. So we know the Ferrari man has got pace. Can he show it now on these soft tyres?
Yeah, Aram was definitely one of the title favourites last season. It was unfortunate he had to pull up due to personal reasons, as he set a purple sector 2, I think it was. Yeah, going through turn 10 now into turn 11. He was 6 or 7 tenths up on his previous best, I think. So we'll keep an eye on him as we're coming into turn 40 now, as he's going to keep it nice and tidy through this final section of the lap. Into the long left-hander at turn 14, getting it nice and close there and almost hooking the final corner up at turn 15 perfectly up to the line. It's going to be a 1 minute 30.8, only good enough for 8th place. So I'm not sure whether he might have been sandbagging or that is his best pace. I guess we'll just have to wait and find out later in the session.
Yeah, he's in 8th place at the moment. Lee Hoffner, though, he's gone up into 3rd place in the Haas, just a 10th behind Astronaut. It's a great lap for him. His teammate Astronaut has just invalidated his lap time. Only 5 minutes remaining. We've still got Alex, Riley and Nicky yet to set a time, and Schumacher as well, obviously, yet to set a lap time. Alex for sole Racing Point admitted that he hasn't done as much practice as he perhaps could have done. So let's see. We know he can talk the talk, as he will be doing again at 8:30 tonight. Can he walk the walk around this Paul Ricard circuit? And he seems to be keeping it pretty tidy so far in the Racing Point.
Yeah, Alex, who's also a member of our commentary team. I'm not sure if this is his first season or not, but we'll definitely keep an eye on him during the race. I think he can definitely secure a points finish for Racing Point, as Jess is unable to select the car but will be joining and starting from the back. But also, as you were saying earlier with Schumacher, I think he's just out making sure his setup's loaded onto the car before he retires, because he's got to retire before the end of the session, otherwise he'll receive another penalty for not completing his qualifying ban.
Yeah, you don't want to get yourself another qualifying ban, basically ruining 2 races, because if you did set a time and qualified high up the field, I can't imagine that would be looked on too kindly by the stewards. While all that was happening, Everhanen, first man underneath 1 minute 30 in the Mercedes, 129.845. That is a hugely impressive lap time from the Mercedes, over a second faster than what we saw pole position last year. That is to be expected, of course, given the extra practice the drivers have had on the game. Alex comes across the line, 13th place at the moment for him. 3 minutes 20 remaining. Still Everhanen, Astronauti and Lee Hoffner, your top 3. It's Chris, he's just coming around the final corner in 11th at the moment, and remember 11th place does get a free choice of tyre in the race, but he's moved up to 3rd place. Very impressive lap time from the Red Bull driver, less than 200ths off of the front row.
Sorry there, I was paying attention to Schumacher. I'm not exactly sure what he's up to at the moment. He's up for some reason instead of coming into the pits to retire. I'm not sure if he knows he has to retire when he has a quali ban. So I'm not sure what will happen to him, but I have no idea what he's doing at this point.
Yeah, he did get involved in a few incidents with last time in qualifying. I think it was Chris who thought he'd been held up by Schumacher, but as it turned out, Schumacher was also on a hot lap, so no further action for that incident. But wouldn't be looked too kindly on if he got involved in an incident while he was meant to be in a qualifying ban, as Gaza just see running wide coming out of turn 5. Slight improvement in the first sector from him. Hopefully he won't get a Haas in the way this time around. Gazaman pretty much part of the furniture now here at One Hub. He'll be looking for a good result tonight. Got a 5-second penalty in Bahrain, which he had to serve in the pits. That compromised him slightly, but still got a 6th place, and he's a class act.
Yeah, Gaz has been One Hub for as long as I can remember, really. He's one of the true good people who's been a loyal people to One Hub. He's been here for, I'm not sure, I think it was season 10 or before. Long before I joined, and he's still going. Fair play to Gaza. He's an absolute class driver. Brilliant to race against, an absolutely really nice guy as well. He's just always been here and just constantly improving.
And he's improved here up to 5th place. He was actually down coming through the 1st and 2nd sector, so I think that's more of a sign of just how much he got held up first time around by Catboy Key. Nothing the Haas could do about it, both on their hot laps, and 5th place for the Red Bull driver. 3rd and 5th is looking good for the Red Bull team at the moment.
Yeah, looking very good for Red Bull at the moment. They've always been up there in One Hub, especially in the higher tiers. Red Bull's always been Gaz has always been the Red Bull driver for as long as I can remember as well. He just always picks the Red Bull every year. It's his favourite team by a mile.
Yeah, I think they did win the Constructors' Championship as well in season 13 when Gaza was in the Red Bull. That was the season we did things slightly differently at One Hub, and the Constructors' Championship consisted of all 4 tiers. Everhanen has retired from the session. We are just about to see the checkered flag go out, and now that is qualifying over for those who have already set a lap. Jonas, he's one of the highest people who you'd expect to improve, and he has gone purple in the middle sector. So let's see what the McLaren can do. He's going to need a big improvement to try and challenge Everhanen, but front row definitely a possibility for the McLaren driver, as Astronauti, Chris and Hoffner can't set another lap time. I think Gazaman, he's on an in lap as well. You can see on the track that map he's just trying to get out of the way of Aaron. So we'll follow the McLaren now across the line. for Jonas Ulrich, and it is good enough for second place for the McLaren driver, splitting the two Mercedes. As TC13, we haven't really spoken about the Belgium in the Renault. 5th place, great lap.
I wasn't. I just saw that at the last second there. He just came across the lane, absolutely blown Lee Hoffner and Gaza out of the water. As I think Nicky might have just jumped up to second place. It looks like.
Yeah, Nicky up to second.
Not less than a tenth off Eva Hannon on pole. So it looks like we could have a close battle at the front here.
Yeah, Riley's gone up to 4th as well, so Astronaut, I think, was feeling pretty confident at one bit in second place, ended up dropping to 5th. Aaron went into the pits there on his flying lap. I wonder if that was on purpose to maybe just start outside the top 10 and get that fresh choice of tyres. We will have to see. I think most of the drivers now have finished. It's just indecisive going around very slowly on his in lap.
Might have run out of fuel.
Yeah, he ran out of fuel. You don't want to stop on circuit, mate. The recovery charges are pretty extortionate around here. But Eva Hannon...
Yes, but there's a lot of it. The recovery vehicles are going to have a lot of distance to cover to get to your car if you stop in the middle of the track.
Yeah, great lap from Nicky as well. It was a bit of a surprise package, and I suppose that's the thing. We've got 11 debutants in total out of the 20 drivers in the podium tier, but Nicky impressed last time in qualifying. Great final stint and strategy to get second place. A second on the grid again today, but it is Eva Hannon in the end who has taken a second consecutive pole position. Much smaller margin than last time, just under 0.2 of a second from Nicky. Jonas Ulbricht and Riley Weiss on the second row. Can Riley make it 2 podiums from 2 French Grand Prix in the Alfa Romeo? Astronauti 5th, Chris in 6th, and you've got TC, Hoffner, Gazerman and Rich rounding out the top 10. Kingan just outside in 11th, podium sitter last season. He'll have free choice of tyres, as will Aaron, Dexter, Catboy Key, Truth NRP, Indecisive, and Alex Lilliard. And Schumacher, of course, starting from last place after his qualifying ban. And we'll just say quickly, happy birthday for Sunday to Schumacher, and hopefully might have a chance of points tonight. You never know, with it raining and with, if you finish outside the top 10, the fastest driver outside the top 10 for the fastest lap will score points, of course, which basically means if you're in 11th place and there's only 11 cars, you're guaranteed a point as long as you keep it on the circuit. And it is definitely looking a lot cloudier than it was in qualifying.
Yeah, I think that was definitely showing that Gaz's hint of the rain earlier is definitely true. So it's going to be an interesting strategy if the rain comes later in the race. And also don't forget that the winner of the Drivers' Championship will get a wheel stand from Next Level Racing, who are our sponsors for this season. So you could also use get 10% off anything from Next Level Racing if you use our promo code. I can't remember what it is because I'm useless.
1Hub10.
Thank you, because my memory is absolutely awful, but at least I remembered to say it.
Yeah, everyone, all the champions across the tier for the drivers will get themselves either a wheel stand light or a wheel stand racer. I think I'm definitely looking at getting myself one, because I was racing on some games earlier and the force feedback did make me think that I might be slowly shaking my desk apart, which isn't ideal, but if I got myself a Next Level Racing stand, I wouldn't have to worry about that. Eva Hannon doesn't have to worry about anyone at the start. He's got a nice clear run on that front row on pole position. You see the tyres that everyone has gone for. We knew the top 10 were on the softs, and outside the top 10, everyone but Dexter starting on those medium tyres. And we know Aaron's good at starting, so if it rains, it wouldn't surprise me if the Ferrari driver sneaks his way up into the high points positions once again.
Yeah, I think that might be the gamble for most of these guys on the medium tyres here. I think they might be trying to get as far as possible into the race, and I hope the rain comes early enough that their tyres don't that the tyres don't go off, and not early enough that the soft runners don't have the advantage as well. They want to be in that just in that sweet spot where their tyres are lasting longer than the soft runners, but not worn out too much, so they can just keep going. And as soon as it gets to the crossover, it's a nice easy switch over to the intermediate tyres.
Yeah, I think we're going to see more basically conventional one-stop strategies tonight, with just an extra stop at the end for the intermediate tyres, which could be a gamble if the rain comes too late, or when it does come, doesn't come hard enough to force a change to those intermediate tyres. So we'll have to wait and see. Rain always spices up the action in Formula 1, as I'm sure anyone who was watching the F1 Classic race from Spain 1996 that was shown on Wednesday will know. So Eva Hannon getting ready to round the final corner at the end of the formation lap. As I mentioned earlier, podium tier, the first of 3 tiers tonight. You can see precision at 7:30 with Owen and Austin, and then 8:30 Alex Lilliard, the man 17th in his one hub debut in this race in the Racing Point. He'll be taking us through the pinnacle tier, all lining up. Jess got into the section, thankfully 19th on the grid, fastest lap for those outside of the top 10 last time out. She said it does better in this track in the wet, so maybe another chance for a few points for the Toro Rosso, although she should normally be in a Racing Point, but she couldn't pick the car. Doesn't matter about that. The 5 lights are on, and we're racing here at the French Grand Prix. It's a fairly good start from Eva Hannon, chopping across on Nicky straight away to make sure he can't get the line. There's a bit of side-by-side action in the background between Riley and Jonas. In the end, Jonas gets advantage of that, and Astronauty, he's trying to join all the way around the outside as well. We've got a McLaren spinning in the background. That is Truth NRP. So one McLaren has managed to move up into second place as another one has dropped, and there's some more carnage in the background. Nicky's got a penalty for corner cutting. I think Astronauty was involved in that as well, and Riley Bays has dropped way down to the back of the field.
Yeah, what a chaotic start we've had here. The front runners seem to have got away quite well apart from 1 or 2, and then further down some of them have been got, the rest of them getting not so bad start, and then you've had that 1 or 2 people who've been unlucky enough to be caught in an incident, but it's promoted some of the lower drivers like Alex Lilliard, who is now up to 12 from 17, and Jess is now up to 16 from last. So two of our one debutants having a decent race so far. Eva Hannon pulling away slightly from Jonas, pulling up to 8 tenths now. Astronaut out 2 seconds behind this with Chris on his backside. Nicky in 5th, who got the penalty for corner cutting, and Gaz's got in the middle of a battle with Nicky for 5th place. So
yeah, Nicky's dived into the pits. Nicky has got damage, and TC13's also headed into the pits. Did the 2 Reynolds get together? Because TC also dropped a few places, so it's been a nightmare start for the Reynolds team. Great start though for Eva Hannon, 8 tenths ahead of Jonas Albrecht, and then it is Astronauti in 3rd place. Chris and Gazaman both moving up as well, and we said Aaron, he always seems to move up on lap 1. 6 places gained from the Ferrari man, and he's on those medium tyres, of course.
Yeah, what a start from Aaron. I think he's definitely took advantage of some of the carnage that's unfolded here on the first lap, and it's definitely going to benefit him. So he's not got as much traffic to get through now. It's going to help him as he's on the back of Gazaman going into the chicane of turns 8 and 9.
Oh, there's
so
contact.
we'll keep an eye on what happens here. I don't think there's any. Oh, yep, Aaron's got slight front wing damage to his. So is Gaza, to be fair.
Could that give
and the
King a
Ferrari
chance?
both had wing damage. I think it could, if he times it right. I think King could be in the perfect position to pounce on this opportunity, having 2 cars in front of him with wing damage.
Yeah, just to clarify, Kingan is also on those medium tyres as well. As you can see, he also gained 6 places on the first lap. But Aaron still fighting with Gazaman. As Gazaman, is he heading into the pits, or is he just running extremely wide? In the end result is he did go into the pit lane. Aaron has stayed out. DRS is now enabled, so they'll be able to use that on the Mistral straight next time around. Those that are within 1 second of the car in front, and Ivahanen has just stretched that gap above a second now. Jonas doing well to stay with him, and Astronaut is slowly beginning to drop the Red Bull of Chris as well in 4th place. A lot of carnage on the first few laps. We did see both Reynolds come into the pits, and TC has gone for those hard tyres. That is probably to ensure he only has to make one more pit stop, probably for intermediates towards the end of this race. Further down the field.
Yeah, sorry.
Further down the field, dropping back obviously from Chris, but Kingan's not catching up as much as we'd expected.
Yeah, Kingan, I'm not sure what's happening to him at the moment. He might not be that confident at the moment, but I don't know, we'll just have to wait and find out. As Gazel has came into the pits already, so he's joining that train at the back with Nicky and TC14, who've got off to a very unlucky start this afternoon, as Alex Lillier is now into the points for Racing Point. He's got Cat by Key right behind him, so we could have an interesting battle for the points here as these two prepare to go side by side.
Yeah, Alex has actually made a mistake there coming through turn 12, so that has promoted the Haas driver up into 10th place. Both Haas drivers in the points. It's a great opportunity for them to get their first points of the season. Riley slowly fighting his way through the field. He is now up into 12th place. DRS open on the Alfa Romeo. You can just see that little envelope on the rear wing flipping open. Is he going to be close enough to have a go though into turn 1 on Alex Lilliard? He's got much more grip on those tyres, and he's up into 11th.
Riley looks to have made a mistake as well, as Alex Lilliard is right on his rear end now. Catboy Key using to get a little bit further away from him too. So, and he's not got Dexter far in front of him, it looks like, who has Rich has made a mistake, but I think Dexter let him back through, but it's been very laggy for me at the moment.
Yeah, I think there has been a few PSN connection issues tonight, so we do apologise for that if some of you are having a few issues viewing the stream and everything. But Dexter has got past Rich up into 8th place. Dexter, he's trying to fight his way up through the field as well. Kingan still on the back of Aaron, and Aaron doesn't seem to be losing that much time to the leader at the moment, so he's doing a great job considering he's got chunks missing off that Ferrari. We know 2019 Ferrari did struggle a bit with downforce, so maybe the left end plate wasn't actually producing any, because it doesn't seem to be affecting Aaron at the moment. Out in front though, Jonas has got that gap down to less than a second, not close enough to an active pass into turn 1, but this could make things interesting for the lead as Astronauti and Lee Hoffner pit, and those soft tyres